One big topic, of course, and this goes back to when Billy Napier's hired. I was fortunate enough to get to ask him the question of how play calling duties would be situated when he was the head coach, and he told us all that I'm going to be the offensive coordinator. I'll be the play caller. And that question was brought up again today. Only one season. I don't think you make any rash, decisions on the offense. And I know it's a big point of contention out there. So we do get asked, or Billy Napier does get asked about, hey, you're the play caller. Are you going to continue to call plays? Why do you want to call plays? And then also we'll follow that up with another question posed to him about style of play.
There's been kind of a trend with head coaches who were used to being play callers for a long time, turn that over to a coordinator. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're still going to call your own plays. If that's the case, well, why do you want to keep doing that? And what do you maybe think about the trend of the other guys are getting away from that?
Yeah, no, I think it's a relevant question. I think it was part of our evaluation, this offseason. I think like most parts of our organization and our process, we will improve in year two. I think it's something that we'll continue to evaluate. I like having my hand on the scripts, the installation, that process. I think I can help establish our identity and personality as a team through that process. And I think if you get too far away from that, I think that there can be some things from a sustainable and repeatable part. So I want to continue to do it. And I think each year, much like all parts of what we do, we'll continue to evaluate.
You built your teams for a long time on power football on the offensive side of the ball. You run for over 200 yards a game this year. Only 2 games you were kept under 100 yards. Have you refined any sort of processes in terms of how you convert that into more wins? Because obviously running the ball is a key part. Is there anything you want to add so you can turn all those yards into more points?
Yeah, no, I think it's a brand of football that we played. It's got us here. I do think that when you evaluate our season last year, consistency is what we're seeking, right? And I think it all really comes down to detail and execution throughout the game in all parts of our team, right? Not just offense or how we rush the ball, but special teams, defense. Every facet of our team, I think, is taking things to a different level of detail and discipline. Now, we want to be a tough football team, and I think that a practice environment that's committed to playing complementary football, there's going to be a physical element to your team, not only because you need to rush the ball, but you got to be able to stop the run. And we all understand the importance of that in this league. So we're evaluating everything that we do each year, each week, and we'll continue to try to put the best product out there this year, much like we have in the past.
There you go. And of course, he wants to put the best product out there. And the self-evaluation is going to be very important for Billy Napier. Now, I don't think he's going to be a head coach that digs his head in the sand, puts his feet in the sand, at the same time and says, no, I'm going to call the plays or else. I think there'll come a point. Now, will it be too late by that point? If it comes to that. I'm not even saying it comes to that. But if it comes to the point where the offense is struggling so much, that he gives up play calling duties. I mean, I still stand by the fact it was not that bad last year. It's made to look worse because of the defense last year. If the defense had been average, I don't think all the criticism for Billy Napier's offense is really out there as much. Florida didn't lose all those games mainly because of offense. They lost them mainly because of defense. The offense was good enough. Now, is that good enough down the road? Is that good enough year after year after year? We'll see. But it was good enough last year, in my opinion, with an average defense. And look, the average defense probably gets the offense the ball a couple more drives a game last year, where maybe they pull some of those close games out. So, I think it gets hit too much how maybe he is responsible for the offense last year. Yes, I know Anthony Richardson went high in the NFL draft. Yes, he probably didn't live up to the expectation I put on him last year. Is that all on Billy Napier? I'm not saying that in year one. I'm not even saying he's perfect now. I mean, there was plenty of criticisms of middle 8 of the game, late first half, early second half, where At times I thought they maybe relied on Anthony Richardson too much, or times I didn't think they relied on him enough, or not sticking with the run game enough, or not running him enough. I think all lessons learned going back to last year. I'm not saying it's all perfect, but I'm not going to use a 1-year window sample size. And I know people will go back to his Louisiana days too, and not necessarily an offense that stands out as one of the better ones in the country. But no, I think let him build this team in his image first, and then if he needs to pivot. Hopefully it won't be too late by then. But if he needs to go get a play caller, he'll go get a play caller. But, it is going to be interesting to see how it plays out because of the quarterback position this year and possibly the quarterback position next year of when he may feel the need to go get that. And look, I get it. I think we are seeing benefits, on the recruiting trail, of course, in the offseason. But there is something to be said about the CEO role type of a head coach. Is there too much responsibility on his plate, during a season to be the OC, to be the play caller, to still handle recruiting, to still being a head coach of the program? Will he ever feel the need to be in that CEO role and not have to call plays? But he likes it. He wants to keep he wants to know the pulse of the team through his interaction in calling plays, being the OC, designing the game plan week in and week out. That's just how he feels best, that he has the pulse of the team. So, it's hard to argue with him there. It's worked for him so far. And I think, it's going to bide our time to see if he'll ever feel the need to not call the plays. And then I keep going on in something about the style of play, of course, leaning on the run game and what he is. And he brought up, consistency. And I think that's big. We talked about the quarterback consistency a little bit, but he brought up, the attention to detail and where Florida is going to need to get better for this season, and that will translate into consistency. And it's everywhere. As good as this run game was, it wasn't that good later on in the year, late in the season. It could have been better in the LSU game. And later on in the season, struggled against Vanderbilt. So the bowl game, take that for what it's worth. But there were a couple of times when, the run game did not have it going last year. Can you get more consistent there? As far as the defense goes, we know about the consistency there. Can you get better on third down? Is that one more facet of this defense that just kind of continued from the last regime to Patrick Toney last year? Can you find consistency to be there? But kind of extending the defense, but also to the whole team, you had it kind of rolling. You lost to Georgia. We kind of all expected, but we went into that November saying, okay, you got some winnable games here. Can you finish November 4-0? You started 2-0 and you end up 2-2. There's a level of consistency just in that last month of the season, just in that last game of the season versus Florida State. But you had it rolling. You beat Texas A&M. You pound South Carolina. And then a week later, you go lose to Vanderbilt, an inexcusable loss there. But you go give FSU all they can handle. But in that game itself, you find the inconsistency that had just plagued Florida all year long. So, there's a lot of levels to consistency. You can look at it at the quarterback. You can look at it in the run game. You can look at it in the defense. You can look at it just as the season as a whole and how it played out. It was peaks and valleys. It was a roller coaster. We talked about it last year. But that's what Billy Napier is looking at. When you're looking for consistency, you at least see potential there. And we saw potential from that Gator team last year. And that's kind of, it still blows my mind how you had all the good feeling after the A&M win and then beating South Carolina. And then for whatever reason, it was South Carolina who had the upward trend after that game and beating Tennessee and beating Clemson, and Florida loses to Vanderbilt. It just didn't make any sense. And I've said over and over again, year ones can be weird. I didn't think it would be that weird. I mean, if you would have told me Florida beats, before the season starts last year, Florida's going to beat Texas A&M, then they're going to pound South Carolina, but South Carolina's going to go on to beat Tennessee and Clemson. For Florida, I'd have been like, okay, well, Florida's definitely not losing to Vanderbilt. They're probably going to beat Florida State. It's just not how it played out. Not how it played out at all. So looking for that level of consistency. Nathaniel Rogers brings up a good point, maybe something that goes into that. Last year's problem, too many people trying to play hero ball. Absolutely. We'll go into some player talk there, but there's a buy-in. There's a buy-in this year when you look at it. So Yeah, John Wilcox saying defense able to stop anyone would have resulted in more possessions, possibly more scores. Exactly. That's how I say it. It's not just the defense being better. If your defense is better, you're getting off the field on third down. Hey, guess what? Anthony Richardson gets the ball in his hand one more time, 2 more times. Well, and what's going to happen in those games that's a 1-possession game? I feel pretty good about Florida probably pulling those out. So, yeah, a better defense just really it's complementary football. As Billy Napier said, where can we get better in complementary football? That's where. That is where. Better defense, get your offense the ball just a bit more.